Hey everyone, welcome to the Roundtable with Vienna Whyte, Season 1, Episode 55. I'm your host, Millie Rouge, from the band Vienna Whyte here in Edmonton, Canada. This Roundtable is a Yank music production. Let's get into introducing our guests today. Our first guest is Gabby Mills from Nebraska.
Hello.
Our second guest is Robymisterdrums from Calgary, Canada. Welcome, everybody. We are so excited to have you on today. Thank you all for being here. I want to chat really quick. I want to ask a very simple question to start everything off. I just want to ask how your day is going so far. What is new in your life that you want to share with the audience? Whoever wants to start off, just jump into
it. Go ahead first, Gabby.
Okay, my day's going good. I just was in class, so that was my first class of the day. I have another one later in the day. I'm currently in Alabama because my school switched online due to the whole COVID stuff, and we spent some time in Nebraska, which is where I'm from, and my boyfriend was with me there, and now I'm in his hometown in Alabama. I'm visiting his family for a little bit, so yeah.
Been fun. How is online classes going?
It's interesting. I mean, it's going good. It's going good. It's hard to do. I go to music school, so it's much harder than just, I feel like any other university does their online classes, because a lot of my classes are performance based and stuff, so
right.
It's harder, but
yeah.
I
can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
I went to music school here in Edmonton as well, so we have a jazz popular program, but I can't imagine what that would be like, because I'm not sure how it would be. I don't know how you're doing that, but I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully things kind of return-ish back to normal eventually, but whatever kind of normal that is. But that's awesome to hear. Now, Robson, I kind of want to hear how it's going for you down in Calgary. You're not so far away from me.
Yeah, it's only 3 hours away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at day school so far. Just handling a few things here and there. Obviously, the whole COVID kind of affects how everything is going and whatnot. So you kind of just have to pace yourself differently and all that, and then trying to stay away from all the stress and whatnot. So
yeah,
it's really more about. Sorry about the light.
That's okay.
It's really more about how you pace yourself, and then give yourself a level of amount of grace, so you don't overthink anything and whatnot. So yeah, so far the day's cool.
Yeah, I find with the quarantine stuff, you kind of have to give yourself something. I feel like you have to give yourself something new every day to kind of keep it fresh, because it's definitely feeling very repetitive for even myself. So it's nice to kind of try something new or do something a little bit different every day that you don't normally do, because it's, like you said, you got to keep it fresh, and it's it's definitely different for sure. So I want to jump into talking about both of your musical careers. I've actually never met either one of you, so I want to hear kind of how you got into music, how you started, and kind of how you got to where you are today with music. So Gabby, do you want to start it off and tell us a little bit more about your musical journey?
Yeah. So I've been in choir and band for a super long time, since like 5th grade probably, and really enjoyed doing all of that. And I ended up going to college and doing a little bit of music there in Nebraska, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. It was more like classical based kind of, and I wanted, I kind of just needed a whole new scene, I think. So I did my 2 years of school in Nebraska and decided that I wanted to move to LA. And I had wanted to do this for the longest time, but when you come from like a super small town and everyone tells you, just go to the community college or just go to the nearest university and stuff, it's kind of just what everyone does. So I kind of followed that, and I went to the nearest university, and I had a lot of fun there. I'm grateful for everything that happened to me there. I've met some of my best friends there and had some of my best experiences there, but I just felt like something was missing. And I had a talk with my advisor one day at the university, and I had told her that I wanted to switch majors again because I was trying to just, find something that fit for me. And she was like, what is it you really want to do? Like, if you could, like, limitless, what would you do? And I was like, I want to sing every day. Like, I want to be on a stage performing. I want to be in a studio recording or writing, like, every day. If I could do that every day, that would be perfect. And she's like, well, then you need to get out of Nebraska. Like, what are you doing here? And I was like, why is she so right? But this is so scary.
I feel attacked.
Yeah. And because like I had known this for the longest time. Even when I was in high school, I was like, okay, if you really want to do something, like, you need to be in a place where, like, that's what you do, and LA is like a great place for entertainers. And I was just like, okay, after she had this motivational speech with me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply for some music schools, and if I get in, I'm leaving. Like, that's it, period. Like, there's no excuses I can make, like, oh, it's so big, I'm scared. No. And I got into Los Angeles College of Music, and I was like, okay, I'm going. And I went out there, didn't know anybody. It was my second time ever being there for longer than 2 days when I moved out there. And yeah, I've just been in school. I was a vocal major for a while, and then I switched to songwriting, and I have learned, like, so much that if I would have stayed in a small town, I never probably would have learned. But yeah, it's been amazing. And just seeing how the industry works in a big city is like, I'm still learning every day because it changes, it changes every second. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of went off the rails of, like, where I started with music and stuff, but I guess I'm just so excited about, like, where I am now, and I'm just learning so much that yeah, it's just really exciting. So
yeah, that's amazing to hear. Are you kind of hoping to stay in LA after your school's finished? And obviously with the conditions of everything, it's a little bit different, but is that kind of your ultimate goal?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I think
awesome.
that's where I need to be too, because now I have, like, these connections, these friendships I've built out there. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great to hear. I'm so happy to hear you've
just
had so much success. Yeah.
Quick question. So do you see yourself, like, traveling, or you want to stay within your country, or like
oh no, I would love to travel, but if I do, I hope it's for touring,
Absolutely. That's a great question, actually. Now, Robymisterdrums. Now, your name kind of says it all, drums. Let's hear more about kind of your musical journey and kind of where you started and where you are now.
I'm actually born in Montreal, so I'm Haitian. I'm Haitian, born in Montreal. So if you hear the accent, that's why. But so English is actually my third language.
Wow.
So it's a lot of brain work.
Yeah.
But everything started as well. Like I would say I started late. I wanted to play since I was a kid, but hating everything. And as soon as we switched churches, one of the church that we had a music school in it. So my parents put me inside. So from that point, it was just like, first prayer I made to God was, you know what, let me take the years that I've lost and then just put my head down and just practice like crazy.
Yeah.
And for the first year was the most interesting year ever. It kind of challenges your character, your personality, shapes you to a different person. And as soon as you walk into something that you actually believe in and it's really yours, you kind of grow in a different pace. And people can't really recognize you anymore. Your friendship kind of changes and all that. So I went from having these friends who only wanted to focus on one side of their lives to the creative side. And then funny enough, whenever you work in something you actually love, you actually meet the right people.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of knowing if you're the right person and if you work on yourself enough to kind of be that person to stay there. So like it was really interesting to see how everything went, and then sitting down with people I didn't think I was going to sit down with, just, and when we talk about humble beginnings, I'm talking about people that at times you kind of admire in your own community, and you're like, man, I wish I can talk to them. And all of a sudden you are in this like realm, and you actually now meet them face to face, and it's like, oh, so it's because I did what I was called to do that made me, in like be close to you type deal. So it's been like that first year was interesting to it really shapes you in a different way. And like I'm already kind of hard-headed, so I wasn't gonna live by what other people would say. I did, as Gabby mentioned, I did have, a whole lot of that, especially when it comes with family, that they just want, the best for you, best for you and whatnot. So it's gonna those just challenges are there. It's just that do you have the zeal and the character to just like tell yourself, you know what, it's do or die, like I'm gonna do this type deal. So
that's awesome. That's incredible. That's really inspiring. I'm curious, first of all, what your second language is. You said you speak 3 languages.
I actually speak 4, but
4? Oh my gosh.
The fourth one is not as great.
Little iffy. Okay.
But,
okay.
Yeah. So it's French, Creole, Haitian Creole to be more specific.
Wow.
English, Spanish, and then because of the fact that my lineage sadly got enslaved by the French. You get into the Romantic language, so I kind of understand a little bit of Portuguese, Italian, Romanian, as well, all that together.
Yeah, they're similar in some ways for sure. Yeah, that's incredible. Wow, I'm inspired. I wish I could speak 4 languages. I can only speak French and English, but I try my best.
At least you got French, though. At least you got French.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I want to ask another question. Actually, I kind of got distracted here. Let me think what I was going to ask you. So are you kind of full-time drums? Like, what's your kind of goal? I know I asked Gabby what her goal is. What's your goal with music that you kind of want to get to eventually one day?
So it actually shifted the last 5 years. I was doing concerts after concerts, gigs after gigs. After like I look at my resume one day, and I was playing for this one African gospel artist, and I'm like, okay, that was nice. So I'm expecting good pay. I'm like, all right. And then I saw the money, and I was like, okay, I think we need to switch things up. So I'm like, you know what? I've always been my own man. So I started my orchestra in 2017. Started composing with the orchestra and creating what I call classical soul. So actually we're supposed to have more concerts, but challenges came upon where my mom actually unfortunately passed away in 2018. After my first concert, she became more ill, so I couldn't focus. And then last year I just focused on composing orchestral pieces, a mixture of like Caribbean influences, African influences, mixed with the orchestra, soul, R&B, and all that. And this year, as you know, we all went through it, COVID hit, and it's like, okay, now we have to reconstruct.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a great time in a sense, because we get to kind of really specialize in our crafts, which is great. But, obviously we're eager and itching to kind of play live, but I think it's a great time to just work on what we need to work on. Things that we've kind of we never had time, right? We never had time before or whatnot. Yeah. And I love that. Reassess. That's a great way to kind of sum it up. Well, I'm so excited to kind of hear you guys after this call. I really want to hear more about your music, and I want to actually listen to it because I'm super excited. Because I've heard kind of on Instagram, but I want to hear the real deal. So I'm really excited. So thank you everyone for sharing about your musical journeys. I want to dive into our topic. You all kind of mentioned some aspects of this topic that I think really shows kind of how you're already doing this on your own. But our topic of the day is how to be your own manager. So with musicians, I know not everyone has the chance or the opportunity, or they just simply like to work alone with kind of their own projects. So not everyone has a manager. So I kind of want to talk to you guys about how you both kind of function and navigate your way in music without a manager. So to be clear first, I'm going to assume that both of you don't have a manager. Is that correct? Okay. I made an assumption, but I was like, I'm pretty 100% sure. And that's like I myself, for my solo career, for the longest time, I never had a manager. So I definitely can experience this with you guys too. So my first question for the both of you is, what are some things you've had to do by yourself in your music career without a manager that maybe have been challenging or would be a lot easier if you had a manager? So Gabby, do you kind of want to start us off with maybe something you've had to do that's been tough without having someone else to be there for you?
Yes. I think for me, this is like a lot to do with like live performances and stuff. Like, I think just getting tickets sold yourself, or, you know, just letting everyone that you know that you have a show coming up, and you know, just being really organized that day, like making sure all your band members have everything they need, or making sure you have everything that you need. And kind of just like having someone rooting for you, like if while you're performing, like someone handing out your cards saying like, she's great, like you can book her for this and this, like weddings, this, you know, stuff like that, is like you just have to do everything yourself. And so I feel like I've been handling it pretty well, but it's also really hard, you know, because I just had like one of my bigger shows, I guess, in February, and that was right before the whole COVID thing happened. And like afterwards, people were coming up to me, I was coming up to them, and had to completely network everything myself and make sure that my band that played for me that night had what they needed, and I had what I needed, and I was in contact with the people running the event and the sound people, and running back and forth, and, you know, just making sure the people that came to support me were able to get in okay, and just everything kind of running around like that, you know. But I don't know, they tell us in school, like, do it as much of it yourself as you can until you get to the point where you can't. That's a good thing. Like, you know, if it gets to the point where you completely can't handle it by yourself, that's a good thing. That means you must be doing really well. But I think I still have a ways to go, honestly, before that happens. But it's also something that like motivates me, you know. I did get some more opportunities that night of that big show, and then the whole COVID thing hit really hard like 2 weeks later, and really fast, everything just kind of like disappeared, and it's like I'm back at square one, you know, finding my own gigs, finding people to attend them to, and it is fun though, because it's like oh, I'm so hungry for this, you know, I'm gonna talk to these people, and I'm gonna talk to these people, and I'm just gonna be annoying to everybody until people want to listen to me, like, you know. So I don't know, I love it and I hate it. So
well, it does sound like, I love that you mentioned that, actually, that what you learned at music school, where you really should do it on your own until it gets to that point of kind of like, okay, I'm stuck, I need help, like I'm struggling. So I think that's a really great piece of advice, because I know with managers, it's not cheap. It's not like when you do hire one, it's going to be $10 a day. It's going to be like way, way, way more. And I know certain managers vary in prices and experience, but I think it's great if you can kind of find some sources that are like friends and family, right? Because it's really hard. It's hard to do all of this on your own. So Robymisterdrums, I know you said you've been working with orchestras, and you obviously have to coordinate lots of people, I'm assuming, for that. So I kind of want to hear some of the challenges you've had to face with doing things on your own. I know you said, you know, kind of got into this a little bit later in the game, and, you know, you're trying to convince your family, like, yes, this is a good career choice. So what are some challenges you've had to face without having a manager in your career?
Logistics. Just logistics. Like, I never had to work on paperwork that much in my entire life. Never had to kind of just look at everything prior. Like, it's literally working on your foundation, something you never thought of doing. Like, I think management versus whenever you're in front of people is just so different. Like, I bet, you know, you ladies can probably attest to that. Like, if you want you to pull up a show, let's say like you have someone comes to you and says to you, you have 30 minutes to create a show. You'll be like, okay, it's stressful, but I got it.
Yeah.
Because you know it. You have your repertoire, you have your music, and you have an idea. You can be as creative. You can change things on the spot. Like you have that, like, okay, I can just create on the spot. But now you can't really create. You actually have to be much more intentional and calculated. And that's your foundation. And you have to make sense of what is already there. So it's as if now, like, we actually have to put this whole basement, like, after you already had the top of the house type deal. So it's like, dang, I already had the top of the house. Everything looks good. Now I have to actually have to create that foundation. It's like,
absolutely.
All right, let's stake out the top of it. And as soon as you work on the basement, it's like, oh shoot, my whole house is different now.
Right.
Oh, okay. Or how do we do that? Or how do we still match? How do we calculate? How do we reroute? So, like, the toughest thing it's really the fact that also the reason too it's kind of hard to find a proper manager is because you still have a vision that sometimes people cannot connect with. So, like, it's one of those things where you wish you can just take your brain, put it in someone's head, and be like, just see exactly what you see in this brain. Do that. Don't do anything other than that. So, and people have their own like, not agendas, but their own way of seeing things. So you can't really force that. So it's like, so I find that personally, it's really the fact that you have to accept it. So there's also the tough part of not having a manager is to accept the fact that you're gonna be your own manager. It's to accept the fact that you're gonna be something that you didn't think you could be. It's accept the fact that you're gonna put extra hours outside of what you like to actually be fruitful in what you actually love and do it for real, and for it to be consistent. Like, for you to kind of do something and be like, okay, like, fight the anxiety that comes with it too.
Yep. The emotions. Yeah.
Oh gosh. And the fact that you have to separate yourself for a moment from everyone.
Yeah.
And like some people may, like, you may be someone else's 911, and it's like, right now I can't be your 911, like, or I can't be your therapist, I can't be your psychologist or whatever. Like, I gotta focus on this or whatever. So even the luxury of having a proper relationship is tough. It can be tough. Like, if you don't have an understanding partner, like, that's tough. Like, I lost like what I thought would be the right wife, and it was just like, all right then. It affects so much. So if, let's say, you had a proper manager and whatnot, probably avoid some little stuff, but it's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is such a demanding career. Like, it's not, your 9-to-5 job as a receptionist, or I don't know what else is 9-to-5. I'm not sure, but it's just different because it's such a random, the hours are so random, the amount of commitment you have to put in. It's, you get these gig opportunities every once in a while, so it's never consistent, right? So it's so tough. Yeah, it's so tough. That's no worries. It's so I totally agree with what you're saying. Absolutely. And I think it's a learning process. It's a learning curve. It just, like you said, finding the right people. Absolutely. So while Gabby's kind of just doing her own thing really quick, I kind of want to know, what do you think, Robbie, that an artist, when do you think is that right time when an artist needs a manager? I know kind of Gabby kind of briefly mentioned this, but what do you think is a good time for an artist to have a manager?
I've learned that it's all about that law of attraction. I think it's one of those things where you know, and like, the right people will come. The reason why I'm saying this is because I do have a personal assistant, and someone also was helping me with business office as well, and then other little aspects of the business. But it didn't come because I was seeking it. It came because, like, everything was just naturally done, and it was just like this natural attraction kind of deal. And for someone to probably see that opportunity and be like, okay, you know what, I want to manage you because I see an opportunity for myself as well, and for them to see their own personal self-interest too, because it's got to work for them too. So it's really it really depends also on the personality and your intent. If you're more like someone who believes in key relationships and are okay with disagreement.
Yeah.
And I think this is key. Like if you're okay with having people that will disagree with you, it's not about not being on the same page. It's just not not agreeing on certain things
Different
because
opinions.
exactly. You want to go the same direction, but it's as if let's say the three of us go on a walk or something. One of you is tired and it's like, okay, we still need to go on top, but do we rest right now or walk furthermore and rest later? So it's really what the disagreement is. And I think it's really like whenever you kind of get people to have that understanding of it, it is what will help. So and that's what has been key for me with the key people around me, where it's like, no, we disagree, but we still want to go the same direction.
Yeah, I love that analogy. That's actually really awesome. That's super incredible. So Gabby kind of already answered this question already, so I'll jump to our next question. So do you think that most musicians can be completely independent for their growth, or do you think at some point they eventually need a team? So I know there's people like Chance the Rapper, and I'm talking about labels, so this is a little different, but he's independent, right? That's got to be a lot of work, but he's doing it. And I know Mac Miller at the time was independent. So what do you think, Gabby? Do you think that most musicians can survive off of being independent for most of their career? Or do you think at some point they kind of have to, start getting a label or start looking into it if they're at that point where they're becoming really successful?
I don't want to say that I think everyone needs a team, because I know like some people definitely work really well on their own, and they work best on their own. Like I know people like that. I've worked with people like that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I should say that I think everyone needs a team, but I think if you're becoming this huge artist, like if you're Ariana Grande level of fame, like I think you're definitely gonna need some help,
Yeah.
And do I think it's totally possible to do it all by yourself? Yeah, I mean, like I said, like Chance the Rapper, look how far he's gotten, look how at his level of fame, and he's really successful. And yeah, so I think if it's something that you have like instilled in yourself, like I can do this all on my own, I want to show the world that I've done it all on my own, that's really cool. And if you can do it yourself, like I think that's awesome. But if you're also open to help, I think that it would really make your job easier, and you'd be able to just focus solely on like your craft, and because it's already going to be stressful, like of course it's already going to be stressful. So
absolutely. Yeah, I agree completely. Robymisterdrums, kind of what do you think about this? Do you think that people should be independent as long as they can, or do you think when they get that team opportunity they should kind of take it?
I will kind of piggyback of what Gabby said. And I will say that it's your intent. I think intent is really important. And also depending on the definition of team as well. If you're talking musical team, then I would say, again, it depends on intent. But if let's say like life team, like you really need the proper surrounding around you, whatnot. But to stay in the context of music itself, I would say intent, because a DJ can do it on his own. I could be playing for different bands and only promote my drumming accessories and at every concert, sticks or whatever, and never really be part of a set band and represent that label. So there's ways to go about it, and everything depends. Because I have the heart of a team player, and because I like when people win, and I like to just push other people. Like I want a team, and to make it look good, I want to make everyone look good. Even when I play drums, my intent is like, how great can I make you look? And in return, it makes me look that much even more better.
Yeah.
So, but if let's say again, and this is where also that transition came for me as well, where I had my own T-shirts, and I was selling my own merchandise. I had my own caps, toques, and whatever with my logos on it. And by playing different places, people wanted to buy and order and whatnot. And then one day I got nominated for an award. I think it happened. No, the award was before, but the award was before. So that award show happened, and then I saw these people winning their awards and whatnot, and then they always had a team with them. And then I lost an award, and apparently someone said I got robbed the award or whatever. But then I thought for a moment, and I'm like, had I won, I would have been up there by myself. That's not cool. I don't want that. So the moment I was selling my shirts and whatever, blah, blah, I'm like, sat down for a moment. Obviously, it was already tough just for the shipping and whatever. Yeah. It was already tough.
Just getting it done. Yeah.
Exactly. But then I'm like, bro, like, is it really what you want, man? Like, you can still have your name, but you can still have a team with you. Like, okay, so I'm like, you know what? Now I want a team. Like, I want to win championships, like, together. I want to be like, you and I, like, gather together. Like, especially the three of us, like, had something together. Let's say, like, one day we'll just gather at one of our places, and then just at the patio, enjoying everything and talking about the crazy adventures. I like that.
Yeah. Well, it's great too if you get to that point of success and you have someone to share, like you're saying, like someone to share those successes with and those great moments to look back on and be like, wow, we all did this. Like, yeah, it's great to do that on your own too, but then it's kind of hard for other people to relate because they didn't go through that, right? They didn't go through that with you. So I think that's a great point. That's really awesome. I really completely agree with both of what you said. My next question is, what parts of being a musician do you wish, what specific parts of being a musician do you wish that someone else could take care of for you so you don't have to do it at all? And let's pretend like this manager wouldn't cost you any money. So what would you want the manager to take care of for you? Let's start with you, Robymisterdrums. What would you want someone to take care of for you if you could?
Man, especially presentation. Like presentation, just selling the heck out of those gigs. Like just get everything in order. Like just selling it. Like get to the right people. Selling the vision, selling the idea. Because my intent is so much different as well. It's not something that is also regular. So already, just out of respect for every musicians out there, everyone is already so unique. So for someone to be your mouthpiece, it's already like such a challenge. Now, like, I want you to be a mouthpiece for a group of individuals all together for one vision, for all of us to benefit from it. It's like, can you please sell that? And then that would be just refreshing, you know? So, because at times, like, I have to kind of do the whole business presentation. I got to create documents like, and again, like, you're already dealing with the anxieties, like, of everything. It's like,
it's just a lot.
Talking about anxiety, I only discovered what it was all about in February. Like, I didn't know this thing. So the moment I discovered, I was like, man, that's messed up. Like, yo, why would anyone want that type of thing? Like, this is crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So Gabby, what parts do you wish a manager could take over for you so you don't have to do it anymore?
I have to agree with what Robbie said about, like, promotion and stuff. It's so hard to, like, it's like, what can I say to make me sound so awesome that someone would spend $10 to drive to come see me in LA? Like, where, you know, the show could be 4 miles away, but it's like a 30-minute drive because it's at 6 o'clock and it's during rush hour. So I think just, promotion. Like, if I didn't have to sell tickets, if I didn't have to tell people to drive to my show, is there parking? No, but there's a parking deck. How much is the parking? You know what I mean? Like, I just,
that all sounds very familiar to me, so it kind of makes me cringy hearing people say that, because it's like, that's really hard. And I mean, you can be an amazing singer, you can be the best of the best, you could be like an upcoming Beyonce, but still, people, it's hard to, especially when we live in a world of like Netflix and we have so many things at our disposal, it's really hard to sell music, I think. So I think having a manager for that would be amazing. I actually have one last question for you guys before we sign out here. What advice would you give to someone who's considering getting a manager and maybe is unsure? What would you kind of give them for guidance if you could? Gabby, maybe we'll start with you. What are some advice or some guidance you'd give?
I think it all has to do with, like, your state of mind, honestly. Like, if you're in a good place and you're happy with everything that you're creating and you're really happy with the success that you've gained, to have a manager like want to represent you and stuff, like if that's all positive, then I think, yeah, like you should do it. Because there's you have to remember, like there's some people that literally may feel like they can't do it all on their own, you know, and if you're at the point where you're ready to like bring someone into your chaos and like have like a backbone almost, then I think you should do it, because there's some people that are like really dying for that right now, I feel like. And some people that are struggling to do it on their own that could really use that. And if you have someone that wants to represent you, like you must be doing really well. So I think, yeah, if you're on the fence about it and it's all positive energy and you can feel it, you know when a situation feels like it's the right thing to do. So I think if it feels good, just do it. My mom always told me, if it feels right, it probably is, but if it feels wrong, it definitely is.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, usually with music, and music industry people and folks like that, when you have a feeling, usually your feeling is correct. So that's a great point. Now, Robbie, what advice would you give to someone who's maybe unsure if the manager is the right route for them?
The biggest thing is take on the challenge. To be, as much as we find the grind to be tough, it's such a great, like it stretches you in such a great way and expands your mind. So it really makes you kind of like a giant in a way. For you to be able to kind of manage all that stuff and still perform, it's quite amazing. But at the same time, it will get you to understand the value of a manager, instead of just thinking, let me just get one and then, oh, this guy is stupid, he doesn't know what he's doing. No, like you can now appreciate and see the value behind it. And actually, whenever you have the right person to actually work with you, it'll be like, not only have any match, but there's going to be respect already right there, because you've already known what it looks like. You have an idea, and on top of that, you just for example of what Gabby said about whatever feels wrong. Many times we do that. We go for a lot of things that feels wrong, like, whether it's relationships, friendships, and whatnot. So even if, let's say, you go for a wrong manager, because you have the experience, because you understand logistics and whatnot, you can maybe the feeling may be wrong, but whatever you're going to say on paper, as soon as you see it's wrong, because you understand management, you'll be like, you're fired. Or I don't want to work with you. So like the best feeling is obviously you less worry. The bad feeling, at least if you prepare for any type of storm, this is like, you'll be ready to connect, to kind of assess or respond to that situation. So it's really a great step to take before even getting one too. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for both sharing that. That was our last question for the day. We are out of time, but we're so lucky to have had you both on today. If you guys are at home watching this roundtable with Vienna Whyte on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. We post 2 shows daily, Monday to Friday, so there's a lot of content to watch. If you want to hear this conversation on Spotify instead, just search up the Vienna Whyte podcast and start listening. Now, before we sign out, could I get you both to say your stage name and your social media that you want our audience to find you on? So, Gabby, can you start it off?
My name is Gabby Mills, and you can find me on Instagram as _Gabby Mills _.
Perfect. And Robbie, can you sign yourself out?
So you can find me Instagram, Facebook as well. Robymisterdrums, ROBYMISTERDRUMS, and also Key 30 Orchestra, so Key 30 and Orchestra on Instagram and Facebook as well. And follow our adventure that will hopefully can get started soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you both so much. It was great meeting you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.